The sky above Earth shimmered faintly as the first signs of the alien fleet appeared. It started with a single glint, like sunlight reflecting off glass, but within moments, the heavens were filled with thousands of massive ships. The Vorthak Empire had arrived. Their vessels stretched across the horizon, each one bristling with weapons and glowing with an eerie green light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Humanity's leaders watched in stunned silence from command centers around the globe, their worst fears realized. For years, scientists had warned about the possibility of extraterrestrial contact, but no one expected it to happen like this. The Vorthak didn't come bearing messages of peace or curiosity. Instead, they broadcasted a cold, mechanical voice that echoed through every communication channel on Earth. You have 24 hours to surrender your planet. Resistance will result in total annihilation. Panic spread quickly among the population. News outlets scrambled to report the unfolding crisis, showing images of the alien armada blotting out the stars. Social media erupted with chaos. Some people prayed, others prepared for the end, and many simply refused to believe what was happening. Governments held emergency meetings, but there was little they could do. The Vorthak technology was far beyond anything humanity possessed. Their ships floated effortlessly in orbit, seemingly untouchable, while Earth's most advanced fighter jets looked like toys by comparison. But not everyone was panicking. Deep beneath the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, a group of scientists and engineers worked furiously inside a hidden facility known only as Erebus Base. For decades, they had been studying ancient alien ruins discovered buried under miles of ice. These ruins contained secrets, advanced knowledge left behind by some long-extinct civilization. Using fragments of these discoveries, humanity had secretly developed a weapon unlike anything ever seen before. Codenamed Erebus, it was designed to harness energy from black holes and unleash it with devastating power. As the clock ticked down on the Vorthak ultimatum, the team at Erebus Base ran final tests on the system. Outside, the world waited anxiously, unaware of the ace humanity had up its sleeve. Military commanders debated whether to reveal Erebus prematurely or save it for when the aliens made their move. Some argued that revealing its existence might deter the invaders. Others believed secrecy was their greatest strength. Meanwhile, aboard the Lid Vorthak ship, Admiral Krithos stared down at the blue-green orb below. To him, Earth was just another primitive world ripe for conquest. He dismissed humanity as weak and insignificant, incapable of mounting any real resistance. His confidence was absolute. After all, the Vorthak Empire had conquered countless planets without facing significant opposition. What could these fragile beings possibly do? Back on Earth, night fell, casting shadows over cities now eerily quiet. People gathered in homes, parks, and streets, gazing upward at the ominous fleet hanging in the sky. No one knew what would happen next. Would the Vorthak attack immediately, or would they wait until the deadline passed? Amidst the uncertainty, one thing was clear. Humanity's fate rested in the hands of those working tirelessly in Erebus Base, and the mysterious weapon they hoped would save them all. And so, the stage was set. Above, an empire prepared to crush an entire world. Below, a species teetered on the brink of extinction, or perhaps greatness. Whatever happened next, history would remember this moment forever. Deep beneath the icy expanse of Antarctica, Erebus Base hummed with activity. The air was thick with tension and the metallic scent of machinery. Rows of monitors displayed streams of data, while engineers moved quickly between workstations, their faces illuminated by the glow of screens. At the center of it all stood Dr. Elena Vasquez, the lead scientist overseeing Project Erebus. Her sharp eyes scanned the room as she issued commands to her team. "This is it," she said firmly, breaking the silence. "We've trained for this moment our entire lives. If we fail, there won't be a second chance." Erebus wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's last hope. Decades earlier, when researchers first uncovered the alien ruins buried under miles of ice, They found fragments of technology so advanced that it defied understanding. Over time, they pieced together enough information to create something extraordinary, a planetary defense system capable of harnessing quantum energy from black holes. This energy could then be channeled into devastating beams of pure destruction. The concept had been met with skepticism at first. Many believed it was impossible to replicate such alien tech, but years of relentless effort and billions of dollars in funding had finally paid off. Now, Erebus stood ready, hidden deep within Earth's most remote continent, far from prying eyes. Its existence was known only to a handful of people, top government officials, military leaders, and the scientists who built it. Dr. Vasquez glanced at the countdown timer on one of the main screens. Less than 12 hours remained before the Vorthok ultimatum expired. She knew that revealing Erebus too soon could backfire. If the aliens realized what humanity was capable of, they might retaliate with even greater force, or worse, try to disable the weapon before it could be used. Timing would be everything. "Run another diagnostic," she ordered, turning to a young engineer named Malik. "I want every component checked twice. We can't afford any mistakes." Malik nodded nervously and began typing furiously on his keyboard. Around him, others worked with equal urgency. Some tested power conduits, ensuring the system could handle the immense energy required. Others monitored satellite feeds, keeping track of the Vorthok fleet's movements. Everyone understood the stakes. Failure meant extinction. As the hours passed, Dr. Vasquez allowed herself a brief moment to reflect. She thought about how much had changed since the discovery of the alien ruins. Back then, humanity had been divided, nations squabbling over resources, ideologies, and borders. But the threat of invasion had forced them to unite. For the first time in history, Earth truly felt like one world. Still, unity didn't erase fear. Even now, as she watched her team prepare Erebus, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing with forces beyond their control. What if the weapon malfunctioned? What if it caused collateral damage to Earth itself? And what would happen after they used it? Would the Vorthok simply retreat, or would they return with reinforcements? Her thoughts were interrupted by an alarm blaring through the base. One of the technicians shouted, "Ma'am, they're moving." On the main screen, live footage showed several Vorthok ships shifting positions. Their glowing green hulls pulsed brighter, suggesting they were powering up their weapons. Panic rippled through the room, but Dr. Vasquez remained calm. "Stay focused," she said sharply. "They're testing us. Don't react yet." Minutes dragged by like hours as everyone waited for the next move. Finally, the Vorthok ships settled back into their previous formation. It was clear they were waiting for Earth to make the first mistake. Dr. Vasquez exhaled slowly, her mind racing. The invaders underestimated humanity, assuming they were helpless. That arrogance would be their downfall. As she stared at the image of the alien fleet on the screen, she whispered to herself, "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Above ground, the world held its breath. Below, Erebus base prepared to unleash hell. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. The clock struck 0. The Vorthok ultimatum had expired, and Earth remained silent. No surrender. No response. Admiral Krithos sneered from the command deck of his flagship, Vengeance's Wrath. To him, humanity's silence was proof of their cowardice. He gave the order to attack. "Target their largest cities," he commanded coldly. "Show them the price of defiance." As the first wave of energy beams fired from the Vorthok fleet, something unexpected happened. Before the devastating blasts could reach Earth's surface, a blinding flash erupted in the upper atmosphere. It was so intense that it temporarily blinded sensors on both sides. For a split second, the entire planet seemed bathed in white light. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the air like the heartbeat of some ancient god. From the icy expanse of Antarctica, a beam of pure energy shot upward, piercing through layers of clouds and into space. The beam struck the nearest Vortex ship with unimaginable force, obliterating it instantly. Not even debris remained, just empty void where moments ago a massive warship had floated. What? What is this? Admiral Krithos stammered, his confidence wavering for the first time. The beam didn't stop there. Like a predator hunting its prey, it moved with terrifying precision, targeting one ship after another. Each strike lasted less than a second, yet each impact wiped out an entire vessel, as if it were nothing more than dust. Within 5 seconds, the once mighty Vorthok armada was gone. Thousands of ships, billions of tons of metal, and millions of lives vanished without a trace. On Earth, people froze in disbelief. One moment, they were bracing for destruction. The next, the skies cleared, leaving only eerie silence. News outlets struggled to make sense of what had just happened. Social media exploded with videos of the event, showing the alien fleet disintegrating in real time. Cheers erupted in some places, while others fell into stunned awe. No one knew how or why it had happened, but whatever it was, it had saved them. At Erebus base, the team stared at their monitors in shock. They had expected Erebus to work, but not like this. The weapon had exceeded every prediction, delivering power far beyond what simulations had shown. Dr. Elena Vasquez leaned heavily against a console, her hands trembling. She had spent years preparing for this moment, yet nothing could have prepared her for the reality. "We did it," Malik whispered, breaking the silence. His voice was filled with awe and fear. "We actually did it." Dr. Vasquez nodded slowly, though her expression remained grim. "Yes, we did. But now comes the hard part." She turned to face her team, her sharp eyes scanning their faces. "Do you think the Vorthak are alone out there? Do you think no one else saw what just happened?" Her words hung heavy in the air. While humanity celebrated their victory, Dr. Vasquez understood the implications. Erebus had proven Earth's capability to defend itself, but it had also revealed something else. Humanity wasn't helpless, and in a galaxy filled with empires and conquerors, being seen as a threat could be just as dangerous as being seen as weak. Above ground, military leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Satellites scanned the area where the Vorthok fleet had been destroyed, searching for any sign of survivors or escape pods. Meanwhile, governments scrambled to address the public, trying to explain what had occurred while keeping Erebus classified. Panic still lingered among civilians, many of whom feared retaliation from other alien forces. In orbit, floating amidst the wreckage of the Vorthok fleet, a lone escape pod drifted silently toward Earth. Inside, a high-ranking officer named Zoreth clutched a data crystal containing critical information about his empire and the greater galactic powers watching from afar. As he gazed out at the blue-green planet below, he muttered softly, "You've made a grave mistake, humans." Earth had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The euphoria of victory was short-lived. Across Earth, celebrations began to fade as reality set in. Humanity had wiped out an entire alien fleet, a feat that seemed impossible just days ago. But the cost of such power weighed heavily on those who understood its implications. In Erebus base, Dr. Elena Vasquez paced back and forth, her mind racing with questions. What had they unleashed? And what would come next? Military leaders convened in secure bunkers around the world, analyzing data from satellites and reconnaissance drones. They scoured the debris field left by the Vorthok fleet, searching for clues about their origins and motives. Scientists examined fragments of alien technology recovered from space, piecing together a clearer picture of the enemy humanity had just defeated. The findings were both fascinating and terrifying. The Vorthok Empire wasn't a standalone force. It was part of something much larger, a sprawling galactic empire known as the Dominion. According to intercepted transmissions, the Dominion ruled over hundreds of planets, enforcing order through fear and brute strength. The Vorthak had been one of many factions within this empire, tasked with expanding its borders. Their defeat would not go unnoticed. This changes everything, General Marcus Hale said during a high-level meeting at the United Nations headquarters. His voice was grim as he addressed representatives from every nation. We've shown them we're not defenseless, but now that they know we're a threat. If the Dominion learns about Erebus, they'll come for us, and they won't stop until we're wiped out. Debate erupted among the leaders. Some argued for transparency, suggesting humanity should broadcast their survival to the galaxy as a warning to potential invaders. Others insisted on secrecy, fearing that revealing Erebus could provoke retaliation sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens remained unaware of the true scale of the danger. News outlets focused on the miraculous victory, portraying it as a triumph of human ingenuity over alien aggression. Few questioned what might happen next. Back at Erebus base, tensions ran high. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair minor damage caused by the weapon's immense energy output. Malik stared blankly at his screen, his mind overwhelmed by the enormity of what they had done. He turned to Dr. Vasquez, his voice trembling. "Do you think we did the right thing? What if we started something we can't finish?" Dr. Vasquez placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, though her expression betrayed her own doubts. "Right or wrong, it's done. Now we have to prepare for the consequences." As hours turned into days, reports began to trickle in about strange activity near the wreckage of the Vorthek fleet. Satellites detected movement, a small object drifting toward Earth's atmosphere. Military commanders scrambled to assess the situation. Was it another attack? A malfunctioning piece of debris? Or something else entirely? The answer came when the object entered Earth's atmosphere and crash-landed in Siberia. Recovery teams rushed to the site, finding a battered escape pod half-buried in snow. Inside was a lone survivor, a Vorthek officer named Zorath. Unlike the faceless warriors humanity had faced before, Zorath appeared intelligent, calculating, and oddly calm despite his predicament. When interrogated, he claimed he wanted to negotiate peace. "You don't understand," Zorath told his captors, his translator device struggling to convey the urgency in his voice. "The Vorthek Empire is crumbling. Your destruction of our fleet has sparked rebellion across my people. You've given us hope, but also drawn the attention of the Dominion. If you act wisely, you can turn this moment into opportunity. Act recklessly, and you doom yourselves." Leaders debated whether to trust him. Some saw Zorath as a chance to learn more about the galaxy and perhaps forge alliances. Others viewed him as a spy sent to sabotage Earth from within. As arguments raged, one thing became clear: humanity's fight was far from over. For better or worse, Earth had stepped onto the galactic stage, and there was no turning back. The crash site in Siberia was a flurry of activity. Soldiers surrounded the battered escape pod, their weapons trained on the lone Vorthek survivor inside. Zorath stepped out slowly, his towering frame covered in scorched armor, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. His glowing green eyes scanned the humans around him, taking in their expressions: fear, anger, and curiosity all mixed together. "Do not waste your time threatening me," Zorath said through a translator device strapped to his wrist. "I am not here to fight. I have come to negotiate." His words sent shockwaves through the military command. General Marcus Hale, who had arrived at the scene along with a team of scientists and diplomats, approached cautiously. "Negotiate what?" he demanded. "Your fleet attacked us without provocation. Why should we trust you?" Zorath's gaze locked onto the generals. "Because I know things you need to survive. Things about the Dominion, and how they will respond to what you've done." The mention of the Dominion silenced the room. Everyone present understood the gravity of those words. If Zorath spoke the truth, then humanity's victory over the Vorthek fleet might only be the beginning of a much larger conflict. But could he be trusted? Or was this some elaborate ruse? Dr. Elena Vasquez, summoned from Erebus base, joined the conversation. She studied Zorath carefully, noting the weariness in his posture and the desperation in his voice. "What do you want?" she asked bluntly. "I want freedom, for myself and for my people," Zorath replied. The Vorthak Empire is dying. Corrupt leaders cling to power while our worlds suffer under the Dominion's rule. Your destruction of our fleet has inspired rebellion among my kind. If you help us, we can weaken the Dominion together. Without them, both our species stand a chance. Hale frowned. And if we refuse? Zorath's expression hardened. Then the Dominion will crush you. They are already mobilizing fleets far greater than the one you destroyed. You cannot win against them alone. The room fell silent as the weight of Zorath's words sank in. Humanity had just barely survived its first encounter with an alien force. Now it faced the prospect of battling an even more powerful enemy, one that ruled entire star systems with an iron fist. Some argued that Zorath could be lying, using fear to manipulate humanity into aiding his cause. Others believed he might genuinely offer a path forward. As debates raged, Dr. Vasquez decided to act. She requested private access to Zorath, hoping to learn more about his intentions and the Dominion itself. In a secure holding cell, Zorath sat cross-legged on the floor, seemingly unfazed by his captivity. When Vasquez entered, he looked up, his piercing eyes meeting hers. "You built Erebus," he said simply. "Impressive. Few civilizations possess such ingenuity." Vasquez ignored the compliment. "Tell me about the Dominion. How advanced are they compared to the Vorthak?" Zorath leaned forward, lowering his voice. "They are gods among insects. Their technology makes ours look primitive. They control armies of AI-driven warships, cloaking devices that render entire fleets invisible, and weapons capable of shattering planets. But they are also arrogant. They believe themselves untouchable. That arrogance is their weakness." Vasquez absorbed this information, her mind racing. If Zorath was telling the truth, humanity would need every advantage it could get. She pressed further. "Why should we risk helping you? What guarantee do we have that you won't betray us?" Zorath hesitated before answering. "None. Trust must be earned. But consider this. If you ally with me, I can provide intelligence on Dominion weaknesses. Together, we may stand a chance. Alone." He trailed off, letting the implication hang in the air. Back at the command center, leaders debated whether to work with Zorath or imprison him indefinitely. Public opinion was divided as well. Some saw him as a potential savior. Others viewed him as a dangerous threat. Meanwhile, satellite feeds picked up troubling signs. Distant stars flickering, ships moving en masse. The Dominion was coming. As Earth prepared for the inevitable, Zorath became both a symbol of hope and a reminder of the dangers ahead. Whether he was friend or foe remained unclear, but one thing was certain. Humanity's fate now depended on decisions made in these critical moments. The debate over Zorath's fate split humanity down the middle. Governments clashed, military leaders argued, and public opinion swayed like a pendulum. On one side were those who believed Zorath offered an opportunity too valuable to ignore. A chance to learn about the Dominion and perhaps even turn their enemies against each other. On the other side stood skeptics who saw him as a Trojan horse, a cunning infiltrator sent to sabotage Earth from within. General Marcus Hale led the faction that distrusted Zorath. "We've already proven we can defend ourselves," he argued during a heated meeting at the United Nations headquarters. "Erebus showed them what we're capable of. Why gamble everything on the word of an alien who just watched his own fleet get wiped out?" Dr. Elena Vasquez countered fiercely. "Because Erebus won't be enough next time. The Dominion isn't like the Vorthak. They're bigger, stronger, and smarter. If Zorath is telling the truth, and I think he is, he could give us critical intel to prepare for what's coming." Her words carried weight, but not everyone was convinced. Some nations demanded Zorath's immediate imprisonment or execution, while others pushed for diplomacy. The division grew so intense that it threatened to fracture the fragile unity Earth had achieved during the crisis. For years, humanity had worked together under the looming threat of invasion. Now, faced with uncertainty, old rivalries began to resurface. Meanwhile, Zoreth remained in custody, observing the chaos with quiet intensity. He cooperated fully, sharing fragments of information about the Dominion's structure, tactics, and vulnerabilities. Under strict supervision, he worked with scientists and engineers to decode encrypted data stored on the crystal he brought with him. Each revelation painted a clearer picture of the enemy humanity now faced, and none of it was reassuring. "They'll come soon," Zoreth warned during one session. "Not because they care about revenge, but because you've shown weakness. To the Dominion, any species capable of resisting them, even briefly, is a threat that must be eliminated." Despite his warnings, some found it hard to trust him. Military interrogators tested him repeatedly, searching for inconsistencies in his story. Yet every piece of information he provided checked out. Slowly, grudgingly, key figures began to see the value in working with him. Among them was Malik, the young engineer from Erebus Base. At first, Malik had been deeply suspicious of Zoreth, believing aliens couldn't be trusted. But as he worked alongside the Vorthik officer, decoding ancient alien scripts and refining Erebus's systems, he started to see a different side of him. Zoreth wasn't the cold, calculating conqueror Malik had imagined. Instead, he seemed weary, burdened by guilt over the atrocities committed by his people and desperate to make amends. "Why are you really doing this?" Malik asked one evening as they pored over schematics. "You could have died with your fleet. Why risk everything to help us?" Zoreth paused, his glowing eyes dimming slightly. "Because I've seen what the Dominion does to worlds that resist. Billions slaughtered, cultures erased, entire planets turned into wastelands. My empire served them willingly, thinking we'd gain power. All we did was become tools for their greed. If there's a chance to stop them, if anyone can stand against them, it's you." Malik wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered. Was Zoreth truly repentant, or was he playing the long game? Only time would tell. As work continued, tensions escalated elsewhere. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, with crowds divided over how to handle Zoreth. Conspiracy theories spread online, fueling paranoia and distrust. Meanwhile, satellite feeds showed ominous signs. Massive fleets mobilizing near distant stars, heading toward Earth. The clock was ticking, and humanity still hadn't decided whether to embrace Zoreth or cut ties entirely. In the end, the decision came down to Dr. Vasquez. She stood before world leaders, her voice steady but urgent. "We don't have the luxury of indecision. Trusting Zoreth is risky, yes, but ignoring him is suicide. We need every advantage we can get. Let's use him while we still can." Reluctantly, the leaders agreed. For now, Zoreth would remain free, but under constant surveillance. Humanity had taken its first step into a dangerous alliance, unaware of how far it would push them into the unknown. With Zoreth's help, humanity began preparing for the inevitable clash with the Dominion. His insights into their technology and tactics proved invaluable. But they also painted a grim picture. The Dominion wasn't just another empire, it was a machine designed to dominate. Their fleets were vast, their weapons devastating, and their AI-driven warships made them nearly impossible to outmaneuver. Worse still, they operated under a strict doctrine of total annihilation. Any species that resisted was erased without mercy. "They don't negotiate," Zoreth explained during one briefing. "To them, resistance is an insult. They won't stop until Earth is nothing more than ash." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Back at Erebus Base, engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade the weapon, hoping to give humanity even a sliver of hope against such overwhelming odds. Dr. Elena Vasquez pushed her team to the brink, demanding faster results. "We need every advantage we can get," she said firmly. "Erebus saved us once, but next time, we might not be so lucky." While preparations continued on Earth, Zoreth proposed a bold plan: hit the Dominion before they reached Earth. Using data from his stolen crystal, he identified key supply lines and outposts near the edge of human-controlled space. These targets were vulnerable, lightly guarded compared to the massive fleets heading toward Earth. By striking preemptively, humanity could disrupt the Dominion's advance and buy precious time to strengthen its defenses. General Marcus Hale balked at the idea. "You want us to attack them first. That's suicide." "No," Zoreth countered sharply. "It's strategy. You cannot win a direct confrontation. Not yet. But guerrilla tactics can weaken them. Hit hard, retreat fast, make them bleed." After much debate, the decision was made. Humanity would launch a series of covert missions using experimental starships equipped with cloaking devices reverse-engineered from Vorthak technology. These ships, piloted by elite crews, would strike deep behind enemy lines, targeting critical infrastructure and supply routes. It was a desperate gamble, but one that offered a chance to tilt the scales slightly in humanity's favor. The first mission launched under cover of darkness. A small fleet of stealth ships slipped past Dominion patrols undetected, guided by coordinates provided by Zoreth. Their target: a massive fuel depot orbiting a distant moon. If successful, the strike would cripple several Dominion squadrons relying on those reserves. As the ships approached, tension crackled among the crew. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, commanding the lead vessel, gripped her controls tightly. This was uncharted territory, not just physically, but morally. Were they becoming like the invaders they fought? Striking without warning, destroying resources, and leaving no survivors. "Stay focused," she whispered to herself as the depot loomed into view. "This isn't about revenge, it's survival." The attack was swift and precise. Stealth missiles tore through the depot, igniting catastrophic explosions that lit up the void. Within minutes, the facility was reduced to rubble. The crew cheered quietly, knowing they'd dealt a significant blow, but their relief was short-lived. As they turned to leave, alarms blared. Dominion reinforcements had arrived ahead of schedule. "We've got company," shouted one of the pilots over comms. "Multiple bogies incoming." Chen clenched her jaw. "Activate cloaks and disperse. Stick to the escape route." The stealth ships scattered, vanishing into the darkness as Dominion fighters swept through the area. For hours, they played cat and mouse, narrowly avoiding detection. When the last ship limped back to Earth, battered but intact, celebrations were muted. The mission had succeeded, but at a cost. 2 ships hadn't returned, their crews lost to the void. Back on Earth, leaders reviewed the operation's results. The strike had delayed the Dominion's advance, but reports indicated more fleets were already mobilizing. Each victory came at a price, and humanity couldn't afford many more losses. Zoreth watched silently as the debriefing unfolded. He knew what lay ahead. "This is only the beginning," he murmured. "They will come stronger, angrier." And when they do, he trailed off, his expression grim. Humanity had taken its first steps into galactic warfare, but the shadows of the Dominion loomed larger than ever. The success of the first covert mission against the Dominion supply lines gave humanity a glimmer of hope, but it also marked the beginning of a deadly game of cat and mouse. Over the next several weeks, Earth launched a series of hit-and-run attacks on Dominion outposts, mining operations, and communication hubs. Each strike was meticulously planned, with Zoreth providing critical intelligence to ensure maximum damage while minimizing risk. Yet, as the missions continued, the cost became increasingly clear. Lieutenant Sarah Chen led many of these operations, her once steady hands now trembling after countless close calls. She had seen too much death, both alien and human. Every time her team returned from a mission, fewer ships made it back. The losses weighed heavily on her conscience. "We're not soldiers," she muttered one night in the quiet solitude of her quarters. "We're ghosts haunting their empire." But haunting came at a price. The Dominion quickly adapted to humanity's tactics, deploying advanced scanners and drones to detect stealth ships. They fortified their remaining outposts, making future strikes more dangerous. Worse still, they began retaliating against civilian populations within their own territories, accusing local species of aiding Earth's resistance. Entire colonies were wiped out, their inhabitants slaughtered without mercy. Back on Earth, public opinion grew divided. While some celebrated the daring raids as proof of humanity's ingenuity, others questioned whether such actions were worth the bloodshed. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds chanting slogans like "No more war" and "Save our people." Military leaders faced mounting pressure to scale back operations or find another way forward. Dr. Elena Vasquez struggled to reconcile the moral implications of their strategy. Late at night, she often found herself staring at the glowing monitors in Erebus base, replaying footage of destroyed alien facilities. Were they any better than the invaders they fought? Striking supply lines seemed justified at first, but targeting infrastructure meant cutting off resources for innocent beings under Dominion control. Where did survival end and cruelty begin? Zorath noticed her internal conflict during one late-night discussion. "You think this makes you monsters," he said quietly, "but war always demands sacrifices. The question is whether those sacrifices are worth the outcome." Vasquez turned to him, her voice sharp. "And what about your people? How many died because of orders like yours?" Zorath hesitated before answering. "Too many, but I chose to fight for something greater, a chance to break free from tyranny. What you do now will define who you are when this is over." His words lingered in her mind as she worked tirelessly to improve Erebus. The weapon remained humanity's ace in the hole, but its power came at a steep cost. Each activation drained vast amounts of energy, leaving parts of Earth temporarily without power. Engineers scrambled to stabilize the system, knowing that relying on it too often could destabilize the planet itself. Meanwhile, General Marcus Hale pushed for bolder action. "We can't keep picking away at them forever," he argued in a tense meeting. "Sooner or later, we'll run out of targets, or luck. We need to take the fight directly to them." Hale proposed an ambitious plan: a coordinated assault on a major Dominion stronghold near the edge of their territory. It would require every available ship, pilot, and resource, and even then, success was far from guaranteed. Many opposed the idea, fearing it would stretch humanity's forces too thin. But Zorath surprised everyone by supporting it. "If you strike here," he pointed to a map of the stronghold, "you'll cripple their command structure. Without leadership, their fleets will falter. It's risky, but it might buy you enough time to prepare for their main force." The decision was made. Humanity would gamble everything on one final desperate push. As crews prepared for the mission, Lieutenant Chen stared out at the stars, wondering if they were fighting for freedom or simply delaying the inevitable. One thing was certain: whatever happened next, there would be no turning back. The assault on the Dominion stronghold was humanity's most daring operation yet, and possibly its last. Every available ship, pilot, and soldier had been mobilized for the mission. Stealth vessels, retrofitted with upgraded cloaking technology, led the charge alongside experimental starfighters, armed with weapons reverse-engineered from Vorthak designs. At the heart of the fleet stood Erebus Base's Orbital Command Center, coordinating the attack in real time. This was Earth's all-or-nothing gamble. Lieutenant Sarah Chen sat at the helm of her fighter, gripping the controls as sweat dripped down her brow. Her squadron had been tasked with creating a diversion, drawing enemy forces away from the main target, while heavier ships moved in to destroy the stronghold. "Remember," she said over comms, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "Stick to the plan. We're not here to win. We're here to buy time." As the fleet approached the stronghold, the scale of the Dominion's defenses became terrifyingly clear. Massive warships bristling with cannons surrounded the facility, their glowing hulls casting an ominous light across space. Swarms of AI-driven drones patrolled the perimeter, ready to intercept any intruders. It was a fortress built to withstand anything, except perhaps humanity's ingenuity. "Initiate Phase 1. General Marcus Hale commanded from the Orbital Command Center. With that order, the first wave of stealth ships activated their cloaks and slipped past the outer defenses. Their goal was simple: disable key systems within the stronghold to weaken its shields and open a path for the main force. But the Dominion wasn't fooled for long. Within minutes, alarms blared throughout the stronghold, and reinforcements poured in from nearby sectors. Lieutenant Chen's squadron engaged the incoming fighters, weaving through a deadly hail of plasma fire. Explosions lit up the void as ships on both sides were torn apart. Pilots screamed over comms as their vessels disintegrated, their voices echoing into silence. Back at Erebus base, Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the battle with growing dread. The energy reserves powering the orbital command center were dwindling rapidly, and Erebus itself was being prepared for activation if things went south. She glanced at Zorath, who stood silently beside her, watching the chaos unfold. For once, even he seemed uncertain. "This isn't working," Vasquez muttered, her eyes scanning the data streams. "We're losing too many ships." Zorath turned to her, his expression grim. "There's still one option. If I can access the stronghold's core systems directly, I might be able to shut it down from the inside." Vasquez stared at him, stunned. "You'd sacrifice yourself." He nodded slowly. "It's what I came here to do. To make amends for my people and yours." Without waiting for approval, Zorath commandeered a small transport ship and launched toward the stronghold. His vessel was immediately targeted by Dominion forces, but thanks to precise cover fire from Lieutenant Chen's squadron, he managed to breach the facility's outer defenses. Inside, he fought his way through automated turrets and security systems, each step bringing him closer to the core. Meanwhile, the battle outside reached its breaking point. Human ships were overwhelmed, their numbers dwindling fast. Just as hope began to fade, Zorath succeeded. A massive explosion rocked the stronghold as its core overloaded, crippling its defenses and scattering the Dominion fleet. Cheers erupted among the surviving human crews, but the victory came at a cost. Zorath's final transmission echoed through the comms. "For freedom." With the stronghold destroyed, the remaining Dominion forces retreated, regrouping for what would surely be their final assault. Humanity had won a crucial battle, but the war was far from over. As the battered fleet limped back to Earth, everyone knew the true test lay ahead. The remnants of humanity's fleet returned to Earth battered and bruised, but alive. The destruction of the Dominion stronghold had bought them precious time, though no one knew how much. Satellite feeds showed massive fleets regrouping far beyond the edges of human-controlled space, preparing for what would undoubtedly be their final assault. The shadow of annihilation loomed larger than ever, but amidst the fear, something unexpected began to take root. Hope. Zorath's sacrifice resonated deeply with those who had fought alongside him. Though an alien, he had given everything to protect a species not his own. His actions reminded humanity of its capacity for courage, unity, and selflessness, qualities that had once seemed buried under centuries of division and conflict. For the first time in history, Earth truly felt like one world, united by shared purpose and loss. In Erebus base, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before her team, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. Yet her voice carried strength as she addressed them. "We've done the impossible before," she said firmly, "and we'll do it again. Zorath believed in us. Now it's up to us to prove him right." Engineers worked around the clock to repair damaged ships, upgrade weapon systems, and stabilize Erebus. The weapon remained humanity's ultimate defense, but it was also a symbol of the stakes they faced. Each activation drained resources and risked destabilizing Earth itself. Using it too soon could leave them vulnerable. Waiting too long might mean certain doom. Timing would be everything. Above ground, cities slowly came back to life after weeks of tension and mourning. Memorials were erected for the fallen pilots and soldiers, their names carved into stone as reminders of the price paid for survival. But alongside grief, there was determination. People volunteered en masse to join the military, support efforts at Erebus base, or contribute however they could. Humanity had stared into the abyss and refused to blink. As days turned into weeks, General Marcus Hale coordinated Earth's defenses, positioning ships and orbital platforms in strategic locations. He knew the coming battle would make the previous ones look like skirmishes. "This is it," he told his officers during a briefing. "When the Dominion arrives, we hold nothing back. Every ship, every weapon, every ounce of energy. We throw it all at them." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sarah Chen found herself grappling with survivor's guilt. She had watched countless comrades die, yet here she was, still breathing. Determined to honor their memory, she trained tirelessly, pushing herself harder than ever before. When the final battle arrived, she vowed to fight not just for Earth, but for everyone who wouldn't live to see the outcome. Finally, the day came. The Dominion fleet appeared on the horizon, vast and unrelenting. Their ships stretched across the sky like a storm cloud, blotting out the stars. As they approached, humanity unleashed everything it had. Erebus fired first, obliterating dozens of enemy vessels in seconds. Starfighters darted through the chaos, targeting weak points, while heavier ships engaged the Dominion's main force. It was a brutal, chaotic fight, one where victory seemed impossible. But then, something remarkable happened. Survivors from rebel factions within the Dominion, inspired by Zoreth's rebellion, turned against their oppressors. Caught off guard, the Dominion faltered, giving humanity the opening it needed. When the dust settled, Earth stood victorious, but forever changed. Cities lay in ruins, and millions had perished. Yet from the ashes rose a new era of cooperation and resilience. Humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with resolve. They had proven they could stand against even the greatest powers in the galaxy. But questions lingered. Would they use their newfound strength to build bridges or walls? Only time would tell. For now, Earth had earned its place among the stars, a fragile beacon of hope in a vast, uncertain universe.